Smooth operation, man. Just like when you're in the ocean. You don't want to hit it when it's high tide. You want to hit on the low tide.
Did you save it? I saved my good ones. I keep them in a jar.
And you just keep them around like the what is it, like the little body parts like in a horror movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Special closet just for all the jars.
On that note, welcome back to Not a Strong Start, a podcast by filmmakers who talk movies, television, and keep special jars in their closet. I'm your host. You're fired.
I'm death by dysentery.
I'm bored to death.
This week's episode, we're going to be talking about the dumbest movie deaths. That could be implied in so many different ways, which is why this is going to be exciting. This is a great topic for all of us.
By villains.
By villains, yes, exactly. So we're going to be getting to that. But first, we're going to hit him with the current event.
So you guys know Mike Flanagan. He's the one he created. He's behind Haunting of Hill House, Blind Manor,
Yeah.
Hush, like all of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, supposedly, like he's been wanting to do a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot for years, and supposedly he set up a good idea like 2 years ago, and he's been really wanting to pitch it, but he has no idea who to pitch it to because of the rates of Nightmare on Elm Street are in flux.
Dang.
He even spoke to his agents. He's like, "Can you like get me to talk to someone?" They're like, "We don't know who to talk to. We're trying." But supposedly he really wants to try. What do you guys think about it?
Here's who he should pitch it to. Nobody, because it's not going to happen. Especially without Robert Englund. I'm sorry. No Robert Englund, no Freddy for me, dude.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
mean,
think, Dan?
the only way you could pitch is to Freddy, try to bring it out of the dead, right? Other than that, like that's really it, man.
I thought it would be cool if they did like a prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street and explored Freddy Krueger while he was still alive when he was the Springwood slasher.
Yeah.
And an ending with him dying and becoming Freddy Krueger in your nightmares. I thought that would be a interesting
Take on it.
Concept of a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Would I love to see it? Absolutely, man. Like if they had like a series where, sort of like a mini series, I guess, where you kind of have like one cast and you see them kind of slowly die throughout the series. That'd be pretty cool. He's kind of do like the little slow burners. You got to add, without Robert Englund, it's kind of hard you kind of have to change tones a little bit. And I think if they kind of steer away from like the cheesiness of it and kind of go a little more darker on it, kind of take a little more serious, that could be an interesting take. But again, because of the rights, I mean, I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it does, even if Robert Englund might be too old right now to play the character, so he can at least be part of it at this point, before he's gone. But yeah, with the rights things, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's weird. This whole, what was it? The Copyright Act of wasn't like 78 or something. It's like, is a lot of those 80s properties now is getting to that point where those like creators get to try to petition to like terminate the rights and get their stuff back. And that's what Freddy's Nightmare on Elm Street is being caught up in right now. It's kind of like what we got with Friday the 13th and Jason.
Wait, what is this? What is this copyright law? This is a law that like
this
over a certain amount of time you can get your rights back?
Copyright Act of 78. It was something like after if you like sold your rights or something to the company after 28 years, you can petition to get the rights like terminated and brought back to you. It doesn't have a high success rate. Yeah,
I mean,
so that's
honestly, I do hope that he does get to pitch it because I mean, I love seeing new concepts for old franchises. And actually, one of the coolest ones I liked about Freddy was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. You know how they took it out of the movies and in our world? I was actually thinking that would be good for the Scream franchise.
Yeah.
Because Scream is a satire of horror movies, of fans obsessed with horror movies. That'd be cool. And they could bring back the entire original cast if it just took place in our world, but there's somebody who's out there trying to kill all the people who acted in Scream, that way you could bring back everybody. I thought that would be a good concept for a Scream movie because, Scream movies suck.
Well, you heard it here first. So in Scream 8, if they do that, we know they got the idea from Kevin.
Well, when I was doing for Scream 5, Augustino and I were reviewing Scream 5, and I came up, I called the opening of the new Scream. I thought it'd be cool if it
Really?
opened up and you see who the killers were in the opening scene, and then they're getting stalked by another killer, and that's
Yeah.
basically what happened in this movie. And I was like,
I
my idea.
I always felt like New Nightmare was sort of like the pre-Scream anyways. You know what I mean? It kind of felt like it was so clever how they did it. I love the way that they did it. And then when Scream came out later, I'm like, okay, it kind of felt like you kind of took the idea or something from that one a little bit. They kind of
Yeah,
played
I
with
think
it.
if New Nightmare would have came out a little later, it would have been accepted better. Like I enjoyed it from the start, but I feel it
Yeah.
was ahead of its time. People weren't ready
Yeah.
for that at that
Yeah.
point.
You know, it was
But either
cool. Did
way,
you see the original concept for Wes Craven's cameo in that movie? You know how it was first that he was in the office with her and he's talking with
Mhm.
her, and then you see their actual conversation written up on the screen. Apparently, the original concept was that Wes Craven was in a van and he cut his eyelids off to stay awake while he was writing the movie. And I'm like, oh, that would have been cool.
ooh, visually
That's
that would have
pretty.
been sick.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I got because it's always like eyes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
eyes. Just like when they had like a Clockwork Orange and his eyes are like held open.
Yeah.
It's such creepy visual because like you know how painful it is to keep your eyes open.
It's gonna need a
Ugh.
lot of Visine. But either way, I do hope my client gets to at least like pitch it. Maybe we can get something just because I've enjoyed his other projects. You know, I enjoyed the Hauntings franchise. I
Yeah.
enjoyed Midnight Mass, Hush. I liked all of
Mhm.
those things. So I like his style. So hopefully he is able
Yeah.
to do it.
If
The
you
But
didn't
first
get
one.
Robert England, who would you want to play Freddy? Who do you think would be a good
ooh,
Freddy?
Oh
I
honestly, I
remember
have
they were
no idea.
petitioning Kevin Bacon to do it, and I'm like, okay, that's one way to go.
That's a way to
I
go. I don't know
yeah.
if that.
I don't know because I've only ever pictured Robert Englund. I never let
Yeah,
my mind go to
Woody
picture someone
Harrelson.
else.
yeah, I'd take Woody Harrelson.
I take him, man. Do I think he'd do a good job? Not necessarily, but he would do. He would go crazy with it. And if you had it like the prequel series, I think Woody Harrelson would crush that.
What about Owen Wilson? Yeah. Oh, bitch, bitch.
Whoa,
I mean, at this
whoa.
point, let's put in Nick Cage. Throw him in there. Put him in the makeup.
Yeah, why not?
Might as well, man.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to our week's episode then. We're going to talk about the dumbest movie villain deaths. So how do you guys feel about these? Does like the dumb deaths take you out? Do you guys love them? Is it like a fun, does it get you more hyped? Do you see it? Do you cheer it? Or do you watch and kind of roll your eyes like this is so stupid?
I mean, for me, so a lot of times it just seems anticlimactic. You know, especially if it's a villain that we've seen. Let's say if it's like a franchise or a multiple movie like series, and this is a villain that we've been seeing, and something like that goes down, and I'm just like, that's it. All of this for that. That's all we got. Like, so it definitely is disappointing. I never cheer it, and takes me out of it a little bit.
What about you?
Yeah, when they die so dumb, here's a big factor. If I laugh at the death scene and lower my head and just laugh at how ridiculous that was not worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? Like,
To go back to the jar comment, it's not worth the squeeze.
it's not worth the squeeze. I would not put that villain death in my jar in on my shelf next to all the tacos I murdered in the toilet.
It's like, you know, that's how like the that army felt at the time with Achilles, where it was like, oh, this guy's a beast, he's killing all these people, he's unstoppable, and they're like,
And then boink.
Achilles, man, that's what took you out after all of that.
Yeah.
My
Yeah, it was a
ankle.
Ow.
Well, especially like I feel like they have the dumbest ways to die for villains when they want to bring them back for another movie, so they don't give them a satisfying death because, especially if it's a franchise and they have to come back, yeah.
Yeah. For me, it depends on what the project is. I love like B-level action. Like some of it's like
Mhm.
hilarious to me. So if it has comedic moments and stuff to it, then when I see the dumb deaths, I cheer and it's hilarious to me. And you guys have both seen me watch those kind of I laugh my ass off when I
Me
watch
too.
them because they're funny, man. Some of them are really funny. So I pick some that are very stupid and are just not realistic at all. So these are the ones I kind of wanted to tackle. Anything else you guys want to touch on about the dumb movie deaths before we get into them?
No,
Let's get into them.
let's get into
All
it.
right, let's get into it. So,
Kevin,
Kev,
start us
yep,
off.
start us
Oh,
off,
all
man. You're our
right.
guest.
Okay, I'm gonna start us off. I'm gonna go with Pennywise from the It remake.
Good
They
one.
just made fun of him to death. That's what they
Cross
did,
that
and
off
he
my
just started
list.
shrinking. That was so unsaid. The first movie did it great. You remember the first one, the '90s movie?
Yeah.
It was like the 2-part miniseries, and they beat the shit out of him, then ripped his heart out and ate it. Like, and then we just get him just being made fun of until he just shrinks down into like a little puddle. It's so dumb.
It's such a perfect reflection of where society is now with like bullying, isn't it? Like you're just
Yeah.
gonna sit there and cyberbully them to death.
Yeah.
And it's like the TV movie seemed like that's the one that would have done the bullying because it's lower budget, it's made for television, like it's not so gruesome. But
No,
the
they did a
made-for-television-
huge ass monster and ripped his heart out, dude.
Yeah, man. And then ate it.
Yeah.
I do
That
not
was-
want to see the jar after that one.
Yeah. Oh. See, that actually was the first one on my list too, so I can cross that
sorry.
off my list. No, I can cross off my because I remember the build up between the two movies and two long movies, so there was quite an investment and the build up of this thing, and so much that was done, and at the end it was just like words. Words is what got you, not sticks and stones. It was words.
This one goes with my name, True Lies. This is where the main terrorist, the lead terrorist guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger is on a jet plane, and then the terrorist leader gets like falls. They're like wrestling off. He falls off, and he gets stuck to the missile. And then that's where Arnold says, "You're fired," and then presses a button, launches him into a building, and explodes.
At least that's still kind of
love
cool,
that.
but it's
Yeah.
not as
It is,
satisfying.
but it's such a dumb way where it's like you're wrestling, you fall, you're just stuck to a missile, and then the last thing you hear is "You're fired," and it's like, oh man, you die by a cheesy pun right before you meet your death. When I see that every time, I go, yeah, and I cheer it. I love it. Such a dumb.
See that was good. That I would like laugh at, and
Yeah.
that fits because it was an action movie, but you had the comedic aspects of it, so it kind of fits.
With the one-liner as the frosting for the cake.
Always. There's so many
Yeah.
Arnold deaths that are like that, or even Sylvester, Steven Seagal when he does the stupid neck snaps.
Yeah. Remember in
most
Under Siege
lethal
when you ripped the
move.
dude's throat out?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love it. You guys see that video that I sent you with the Steven Seagal just taking the guys
Oh
down?
yeah.
And
I thought it was funny. You ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
And Chris
Yeah.
Pratt I think he's reenacting what was it, Under Siege? And he's just like, yeah, and then he rips the dude's throat out and he dies from starvation because he can't eat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Turtles too. The second Turtles, Shredder.
Super Shredder. I had that on my list. That was
Super
gonna be my
Shredder.
next one.
And again, another villain that goes from one movie to another. He's the big bad, and all of a sudden he starts mutating into Super Shredder. We're like, we're about to get this epic fight. Nope. He
No.
hits the columns, collapses on them. Super Shredder's done by bad construction.
And then his hand. Oh,
Yeah.
So
yeah, dude. The turtles didn't even fight Super Shredder. They were just like, oh.
they just
Oh,
threw in like
no.
some bodybuilder. Get in there, and he just puts on the suit, and then that's it. He collapses.
Oh,
It was
man.
terrible.
For a few seconds there, I just had all this thing going in my head of like, oh, there's gonna be a fight. This is gonna get messed. The turtle's gonna get messed up, and they're gonna come back, and it was like, oh, nope.
Dude,
Didn't
it was
happen.
they actually did it better with Bane in the Joel Schumacher Batman. That
Oh,
guy was
yeah.
dumb too, but at least he had a better Shredder moment. You know what I mean? At least he like lifted him up and all that, and like picked up the whole bat symbol. Man,
They should have just stuck with the dumpster death from the first one.
Yes.
yeah, they should
And
have.
Splinter did that one.
Yeah.
And there was an epic fight beforehand.
Yes. This one is actually a disappointing one. And this one was built up the entire movie that you couldn't wait for this mother to die. And then it was so disappointing. John Wick in the first movie, the dude who killed his dog, and I just rewatched the scene just in general, just to make sure that I was right. He gets
Yeah.
shot in the tummy and then really quick just gets shot in the head. I'm like, I was hoping for a whole like torture scene because that entire movie was built up on John Wick getting revenge for this dude killing his puppy. And then he kills all these motherfuckers to get to him, and he just shoots him in the tummy and then shoots him in the head. I wanted a pack of rabid dogs running and tear this dude apart. Like, I wanted the worst. Like, that dude deserved at least a week's worth of torture before he died.
Yeah.
Well, he did, because when he shot him in the tummy and the head, he couldn't eat anymore. He couldn't think.
He
So
starved
that's
to
why he
death.
died.
Yeah, man. Yeah. If they would have done it with a pack of dogs, that would have been cool because you killed the dog, boom,
Yeah,
gets
the
eaten by
dogs come
dogs.
back and kill you. That would
Yeah.
have been
That would have been
sick.
cool. Here's one that I had. I know it's a comedy and like they try to make it like a funny joke, but it was so dumb to me. In the movie The Other Guys, they had Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock who just jump off the building. And when I see it, it's not even funny to me. It's just stupid. It's just a dumb joke. Like, I get it that they're supposed to be so ego that they think that they're in an action movie and that they're going to survive it. But it just doesn't make any sense. Like, if they're there and there's explosions behind them and then they jump, sure. But them just choosing to fall off, I'm like, that's so stupid. It's not
I'm
even a
imagining
funny
you
joke.
watching this movie, just seeing
Mad.
your face, just so angry.
I was like this. Yeah.
The funny part about this is I actually laughed on that part.
Wait, which one? Oh, on the other
The
guy?
other
And then
guys. Yeah.
when they jumped over, it was so dumb that I could not help but laugh. I could just picture myself next to Dan watching it,
Yeah.
pissed off and serious, and me just rolling over, holding my
Going,
stomach. You see that, Dan? That was great.
That's comedy. That's how you write comedy. And I'm just like,
They thought the
Villains
bush
won't
was
kill
gonna
us. We'll
hold
kill
them.
ourselves.
how about you, Kev? Did you watch the scene? Did you like it?
I remember seeing it. I completely forgot about it until you mentioned it. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of that movie. And it's weird too, because I love comedy, but
Yeah.
I'm so kind of like turned off by comedic movies nowadays. I just like having comedy in regular movies. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like those are funnier than
The
these slapstick
subgenres, huh?
movies that are just full like slapstick comedy the entire time, unless it's good slapstick,
Yeah, but they don't even make those anymore. Like, that's what we talked about that on previous episodes. It's like the art of comedy is just kind of dying. So now it's like in this subgenre where you have action comedy, you have to have horror comedy. Like, that's the only way it's like really working.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember the last full comedy I watched, like new comedy.
Actually, you know what? Well, because this technically isn't a comedy, but Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That was the last movie I remember laughing so incredibly hard in the
Yeah.
theater. But it
But
wasn't
that
a
was
straight
that was
comedy.
subgenre,
No.
yeah.
Yeah. Sci-fi action. So again, the same one. The only one I saw that was like a pure comedy, I think, was You People, and I didn't even like that. Wasn't
No. That was a comedy?
supposed to be. Yeah.
Someone should have told them that. I'm gonna go with the aliens from War of the Worlds. So these guys were proactive enough to bury these ships a long, long time ago for the day that they're gonna come back and invade us unexpectedly. But they weren't proactive enough to check if there was freaking bacteria on this earth. They died by bacteria. You did not know that when you were burying these ships a long time ago. When that got revealed at the end, I was like, this is idiotic. Like,
Yeah.
how do you not? Bacteria is everywhere.
Penicillin was their main weapon.
The humans didn't even have to do anything. We just had to exist because the bacteria was already there. Like, hey, mission solved.
You survived until they got a cold. That's it. All you had to do, survive until they get a cold. They'll die off, and then you're good.
If they would have came during COVID, they would have died immediately. That's it. Only Sherman Oaks would have been taken out, and that was it.
I love
All right,
Sherman
Kev.
Oaks.
Yeah.
All right, I'll probably get some heat for this, but I think Darth Vader died really dumb.
Yes, he did.
I mean, because technically he died as Anakin Skywalker. So what was the moment that Darth Vader died is when Luke Skywalker cut off his robot hand. And then he's like, I'm not a bad guy anymore. And then he died from that. I mean, sure, he got electrocuted when he threw the Emperor over the thing. But I mean, like, who hasn't gotten electrocuted before? And he's strong with the Force. He could take that shit. And then he's just like, I'm dead. Take off my helmet. And so I just thought that was a weak death.
And they were like right there. You're like, the ship's like right there. Just get
Yeah,
on
just
and
get him
just
on the
take
ship.
off.
Just put him in
Yeah.
the co-pilot seat, and then you guys can have your moment with his fucking helmet on. Like
The dude survived being burned by a freaking volcano.
yeah.
You can't take a little bit of electrical surge.
Not the tickle fingers. Can't survive the tickle fingers.
He's the baddest dude in the galaxy. Until he loses his hand, and then he's just like, you know what? I'm a good guy again.
Because he just thinks I can't masturbate anymore. I'm done. I'm done for. My life is over.
That was his strong hand.
It was, man. And then what's funny is that when people watch it, they're like, you hear the voice of James Earl Jones the whole time, and he sounds so prestigious, and they take it off. It's like some old crusty white guy.
Yeah.
The hell is this?
Well, how funny would it be if it was a black guy? If it was James Earl Jones when he took it off, he's funny. Like, "Well, we gotta talk. I don't think I'm your son."
Maury Povich, you are not the father.
I am not the father.
And he just gets up, bouncing around. It's like, I thought he was dying. Do you guys remember this movie called Maximum Overdrive? This great
I
horror
know
movie
the
in
name.
The
I
80s.
can see the title.
Okay. So the Maximum Overdrive, it has Emilio Estevez in it. It's a Stephen King, based off a Stephen King book, and it's about cars and like electronics that just kind of wake up and start killing mankind.
Nice.
It's really ridiculous. I used to watch a bunch of Stephen King movies back in the day, but this one, there's a scene where the kids are on a baseball field and the coach goes over to the vending machine. And it just starts like the first soda machine hits him in the balls and he goes, oh, and then it just starts like shooting sodas at him and it starts hitting him, and he just starts taking it before he falls over and dies. The soda machine doesn't fall on him. It just shoots sodas at him. All you have to do is just roll over, bro. Roll over. That's all you have to do. You just averted the disaster. Like,
did he even put his hands up?
Another note,
Nothing.
You just sold me on watching that movie.
You need to watch it. You're gonna be laughing your ass off. There's so many dumb deaths, but that one is just like, dude, you get hit, and then all he's doing, he's on his knees blocking his balls because he got hit, and he's just getting hit in the face with sodas, and it's like, it's so stupid. What a dumb death.
That they did so many of those deaths. It reminds me of, I think the other day I watched the Omen. And then there was like the death of the priest, where I think from the top of like the church, the little metal bar like falls off, and he sees the whole thing breaking off, coming at him, and instead of just moving out of the way, he just stands there like, no, and it just impales him.
It reminds me of Austin Powers. Remember the guy that's just said the Zamboni and just slowly driving towards him before it crushes them. That's awesome.
Slow reaction times. And honestly, I feel like that's how I would probably die in a movie. in real life, I would have the slowest reaction time.
You're like, I got time. Oh, no, I don't.
You would have just enough time to look at the camera and where is he looking?
I mean, I would have a cooler one-liner, but I would be faster coming up with my one-line death than it is to actually move out of the way to prevent myself from dying.
Yeah,
that's what that time would be spent on, coming up with my one-liner.
The whole time until you get it perfected.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna go with. I was caught between two, but that one's not too bad. I'm gonna go with Michael Myers in the new Halloween movie, Halloween Kills. Is that what it is? No, Halloween Ends. Halloween Ends.
Halloween Ends.
That was so dumb. Him and Laurie stabbing each other. And then they paraded his dead body throughout the town and threw him in a wood chipper. And with that grinder, those grinders at the junkyard, and when the way his body moved when it got sucked in, I could not stop laughing in the theater. It was the funniest thing. It was like, and I was laughing so hard in the theater. Well, I wasn't even in the theater. We were watching it in the backyard because we were like, I don't know if we want to watch this in the theater. But yeah, that was such a dumb way to die. I mean, it's a cool death, but the way his body like got sucked in, I was just laughing. It was just
that was a metaphor to what they did to the franchise. That's exactly how they killed it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they have children just sitting there watching them, just watching his dead body get.
No, nobody thinks this is like wrong. Like they're just.
We must protect the kids.
Body.
We must protect the kids by watching this man get mutilated.
Everyone in town, including the kids, they just got a piece of them for souvenirs to put in the jar and take home.
They all take jars.
I'm imagining the guy who works at the junkyard the next morning having to clean that shit up. Like, he's like, damn it.
The whole time was here and no one helps me.
Yeah.
OSHA's gonna be on my ass about this, you guys.
A little spray bottle. Just...
He comes back together like the werewolf in Monster Squad.
This one's pretty obvious, and I feel this discussion was happy for the aliens from Signs.
Oh, okay. Water.
70% of the damn planet. Again,
isn't it more than 70%?
It probably is. At
I think
minimum,
it's like 80%
70%.
water. But not only that, there's water in the air too. Technically,
there's water in us. There's water
it rains.
everywhere.
There's water in the clouds. Like it rains.
And
oh,
they
no,
were like,
lose.
"Yes, this is the planet." Did they do no recon at all? Did you just show up today? Like, hey, that looks good. Let's go. I don't know what that blue stuff is, but let's go.
Yeah, no. All they
you
did
know
was
what
go
else?
to
I
Mexico.
will go right on top of that with War of the Worlds remake, the Tom Cruise one. How they all got taken down because they got sick of eating people. Like everybody's AIDS just made them die. Like,
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I had one. This is a famous one that a lot of people already know. 007 Live and Let Die. That's the one where 007 gets one of the villains, Kanunga, and puts like one of those things and inflates his body like a balloon. So they're there wrestling around in ocean, like in water, and he puts one of those little canisters in them, and the guy all of a sudden just turns into like a balloon, and it looks so fake. And the guy just floats up to the top. Yeah, he floats up to the top and explodes.
Gonna blow up you.
And then he just explodes, but then there's no like blood, there's no guts. He just explodes like a balloon. But the reason why it's so dumb is because 007 has never taken that tone change into pure comedy.
It
That
just
was
turned into Naked Gun.
Dude, it literally did. Even Naked Gun didn't do a death like that. Like, it's so stupid. But like, if you guys haven't seen this, you need to watch that clip. It is so stupid. And
that
the guy
reminds me of
no
Big Trouble in
guts.
Little China.
Yes.
Remember the dude who like made himself explode? Like when I was a kid, that was like my favorite scene in the entire movie.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like that. Except that movie came out afterwards, and that was a comedy.
At least that guy had guts when he exploded and went everywhere.
This one didn't. It was just a hot air balloon.
It's always random when they decide to go with a cartoonish death, and they didn't at any other point. Like when we did the Leprechaun franchise, there was the one like the Leprechaun in space, and out of nowhere they did something where this guy got hit with this like round metal piece in the face, and it flattened him. He looked like the what was that?
Like a cartoon?
Cartoon.
Yeah, like Mad Magazine, like that guy.
Yeah.
They just like completely flattened his face, but it's the only time they ever did a death like that.
Or Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
Right there.
Remember me, Eddie? When I killed your brother. All right, I will go with this one. Probably get another hate for this, but even though it was still cool, I'm gonna go with Thanos in Endgame. In Endgame, Tony Stark had a cool death, but you know, I just wanted to see Thanos get his ass kicked and killed that way. Like, I mean, when Thor cut his head off at the beginning of the movie, and then they time travel and he comes back and he steals the stones and they snap him, he just sat down and just faded. After all that struggle, he just sat down and he just disintegrated.
Yeah. He was tired.
Yeah, right?
Those dogs were barking.
Yeah.
The decapitation, I will accept the decapitation from Thor. That was cool because it just came out of nowhere.
And there was so many of them.
That's a hot take right there, Kevin.
It is. I mean, like, you first of all, you were kind of hoping that Hulk was gonna finally Hulk out and kill him. And I get why they didn't have him do that. That's fine. But I would still just want a more satisfying death. Although the stakes were really high, and at this point, like they could never beat him. As soon as Tony got the stones and he snapped his fingers, like, yeah, I accept it. But at the same time, it's just like the dude just sat down and faded. Like that's it.
Yeah, I mean,
just like a fart in the wind, like a fart in the wind.
Yeah,
I just people are inhaling him.
Yeah, I got Thanos in the back of my throat.
You got some guys in there grilling burgers, and it's like, oh, come on, and it's all over them. This one was from the movie Jack Frost, the horror one, not the one with Michael Keaton. Okay, there's a scene where a girl's in a hot tub, steaming water, and you see his carrot pops up, and all of a sudden he forms a snowman, mind you, in a hot tub. And when he forms and he grabs her, he starts shaking her, except his the carrot of his nose is gone. So it implies that he's me tooing her. And he's just sitting there shaking her. And the line at the end is Christmas is coming early. It's like, but like, how does a snowman form in a hot tub?
It's hot snow.
It's hot
Yeah.
snow, man.
Do you remember
It's
that? What was it? Rookie of the Year? Hot ice.
yes. Yeah, Rookie of the Year. That was a good movie. But no, that movie's so dumb. But that one makes no sense. No sense. But Killer Snowman, what are you gonna do?
Christmas is coming early. The last one I have here is the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
I had that on there too.
I mean, technically, it was death by being ignored.
I don't believe in you.
It's like, I'm not going to give you attention. You don't exist. You're not real. He was like, oh no, you got me. And all the things that you tried, that was my one weakness. I'm gonna. It was, it was very Pennywise, and it's like death.
And then he turned into Sparkles and disappeared. Okay, this one, and I think everybody agrees with this one. Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. Technically, he is a villain. I mean, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But it just ended. And it's just like, that's how he dies, is because it just goes to black. Although I understand from an artistic perspective, but still, I thought that was a dumb way for him to die. You don't even see who did it, how he died.
Yeah. Especially after, how many seasons did that go?
I don't know. Like,
I think 6.
Is it 6 seasons?
I think it was 6. Yeah.
That's a big commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I understand why he did it from a story standpoint, but sometimes we as viewers still need some kind of closure. And it's like, you still need to see, like in Breaking Bad, you see the Walter White, you see the Darth Vader. Sometimes you still need to see it.
And I think this is the last one on my list.
Okay.
Yeah. Ben Solo in the Star Wars movies. Yeah, I almost wanted him to die to the music "Kiss from a Rose on the Grave." Kiss from a rose from a ray in the floor. Like, so
That's
dumb.
funny,
He just gave up. That's what he just gave his life for us. At least from what I remember, I just remember that was a dumb. I haven't watched that movie since it came out.
Dude, the trilogy, man, the whole trilogy is just dumb. Like the part 7 was the only one that was like, this is solid.
Yeah,
8, 9 is just no. Let's do what's on the queue. So this could be one where what's a good movie that our audience should watch that maybe had a dumb death in it, but you guys still think it's great. It could even be from the list you guys have.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was watching this the other night because I'm a nostalgic person. I like watching old movies. Arachnophobia.
Oh yeah.
Throw that on there. That's a good. I love small town monster movies, even though it's not a monster, it's a spider.
Yeah.
But I love the whole town. I love the whole aspect of a town coming together. But the way that the spider dies at the end with the nail gun, I'm like, I don't even think it's possible to shoot a nail from a nail gun. It has to be like, I don't get it, but it's still a dumb way to die, but it's still, I mean, for the spider, I guess. I mean, it's so funny because that final battle is built up as this epic thing, but it's just a dude killing the spider. That's just what it is.
Get raid.
He's getting taken out by a spider, knocks down in a whole like wine bottle shelf, and he's trapped under there, and he's battling this spider, dude. Like, that's just so dumb, but it's still done so well, you know?
Yeah, it was a Tim the Two Man Taylor nail gun.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go with one of the ones on the list, just especially with the new Ninja Turtle announced, and then the Taro Michael Bay's the ones that we have. It's good to go back to the originals, watching the first 2 Ninja Turtles. So I'll be on the queue.
I actually watched the first one again recently with Pete.
How'd it hold up?
Still good.
It's still good, dude. I can't believe like how dark that movie was, and it still worked. And it was, I don't know, man. It felt raw. It felt like a newer movie, like how they would make movies now rather than in the 90s, in the early 90s. I can't believe the texture and the rawness and the darkness, especially for something that's based off of a children's cartoon and
Yeah.
comic book. And
Yeah.
it actually reflected more of the original comic books, but dude, it still holds up.
Yeah, because especially when you had the scene of like Ralphie dying right there in the bathtub. You know what I mean? Like it's such a
Yeah.
good, like they tackled such a very serious moment for a children's movie.
And that
Yeah.
scene when they're on the farm and they're sitting by the fire and they're meditating and they're seeing Splinter, I'm like, dude, that's still emotional. Like,
Yeah.
I was still getting like teary eyed. I'm like, oh my god, dude, it still holds up. And the effects too, just of like the way that I mean, you can still see the lines in the mask.
Yeah.
There's a
but
couple of
whatever.
scenes where you can see the
See the
puppeteer's
mouth.
like mouth
Yeah.
inside when he's talking, you know, like, but dude, it's still great.
Good, man.
I'll still take that over the abomination we got from Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, like Jose said, watch the original. Watch part 1 and 2. Completely leaving out part 3. Turtle.
No, yeah,
Yes,
no, you can
yes,
skip
yeah.
part 3.
Yeah, you can skip part 3.
It's so funny the what is it called? The evolution of the robotics that they used for the turtles. So
Yeah.
the first one, the turtles were just talking kind of like this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, all right, it's believable. The second one was
yeah.
a little faster, and you could got the lips kind of moving, and then
Yeah.
the third one was like crack,
Wow.
dude. It's like
Yeah, and their eyes
like
were
when they
like
would
big,
talk.
and I was like,
Yeah, they
what
were
the
just like-
hell?
They gave him these giant like freckles too,
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, sunspots. They got
Yeah.
sunspots. They should go to a doctor and get that looked at. It might be cancerous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Maximum Overdrive. It was a fun '80s, ridiculous, but Emilio Estevez and like the main villain is like this giant 18-wheeler that had like the Green Goblin, you know, from
Mhm.
Spider-Man. Like the face is on the front grill. Good movie, man. It's ridiculous. It's kind of like a Tremors, but like with electronics.
Ooh.
So,
You know,
not bad.
Dan,
You sold me on
Dan,
Tremors.
Say no more.
Yes.
Like I'm watching that today. Like
you
sold
guys
me.
really need to, like, seriously. It was such a fun blast, and it's ridiculous. So thank you for watching another episode. You can like, subscribe, comment, share on our YouTube channel, Not a Strong Start. You can listen to us anywhere you listen to your podcast. I am your host. You're fired. You can follow me at king_Sangre.
I am not your host, Death by Dysentery, and you can find me at This Is Me Nombre on IG.
They found me in the alley right before the podcast. I'm bored to death. Kevin Lyons, and you can find me at Twin Pines Video.
Yeah, we can. So let's load up those Maximum Overdrives and let's go, baby.
Dude, I think I'm gonna watch Maximum Overdrive tonight. That's gonna be my nighttime movie, I think.
Are you gonna bring your jars with you? to watch
Yeah,
with
my
you?
jars of poops.